A deal, I think, is imminent within the next 48 hours. Hamas is weak and needs a deal. Benjamin Netanyahu has become much stronger and he can afford a limited one. And both Israel and Hamas, I think, are wary and very uncertain about the incoming administration. I think they believe they probably won't be able to play Donald Trump the way they've played Joe Biden over the course of the last year and a half. So yes, a deal is coming. It's limited. It's great news for the hostages, their families, and for the 2.3 million inhabitants of Gaza who will get the benefit of surged humanitarian assistance, but it will not end the war.
So what would be different then about this deal compared to previous deals which have led to temporary ceasefires in the past?
Well, the only real deal that was consummated was in November 2023 when the Israelis regained 105 hostages in exchange for roughly almost 300 Palestinian prisoners and a week ceasefire, a week-long ceasefire. This, if it works, will bring to the people of Gaza and to the people of Israel something that they have not experienced since October 7, which is a 6-week ceasefire. Now, maybe you can build on that. Once the shooting stops, it may be harder for it to resume. But what you're not going to see is a permanent cessation of hostilities. Hamas will still control roughly 50 of the Israeli IDF soldiers, both living and dead. The Israelis will continue to operate against Hamas as an insurgency. And there'll be no effective, to say the least, good governance, functional governance in Gaza. Now, it may be possible to build on that, but first things first. If you can get this deal, it'll be a welcome respite, but I suspect not much more.
So you're a former Middle East negotiator. Aaron, how precarious are these final stages? Are the last elements the hardest to nail down?
Very, and I think you broke the code, because the more you get to the essence of the deal, when both sides have to make decisions, the harder they're going to fight to demonstrate to their constituencies that they've ground out every ounce of concession from the other side. It would not surprise me if you saw this deal delayed, but I really do believe that January 20th is something of a deadline, because neither the Israelis nor the Palestinians have any sense of what Donald Trump is willing and or able to do. He might just as soon not be interested in this issue at all. So I think Hamas is capitalizing on the fact that they do get something. The Israelis, Benjamin Netanyahu, will pick up a few points with Donald Trump. And again, the hostages, their families, the hostages of those who are released, their families, and the 2.3 million inhabitants of Gaza will get a welcome respite. But again, it's going to take bolder decisions than the ones made over the last week or so to end the war in Gaza.
Bolder decisions by whom?
Bolder decisions by the government of Israel, bolder decisions by Hamas, which purports to continue to speak for Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, and I suspect focused and bold decisions by an American president. And we haven't seen much in the way of key decision makers over the last year from either the Biden administration, the government of Israel, and certainly not from Hamas. You have an opportunity here. And I mean, I don't want to shortchange it or undermine it by arguing that there's no real possibility here. A 6-week ceasefire could turn into something more, but it really is going to take real decisions on the part of the government of Israel, the Hamas leadership, and an administration in Washington, I think, to bring this together with a hope of actually ending the war, freeing all of the hostages, getting good governance in Gaza, and finding a way to replace the Israelis with some security architecture which will prevent and preempt on October 7 from ever happening again. That's a very ambitious agenda, and it's going to require big decisions to further it.
Aaron, do you detect shifting sands in the Israeli coalition? We heard earlier from the foreign minister. He seems to be changing his very strict attitude towards any sort of deal. Has Benjamin Netanyahu been effective in changing attitudes within his coalition?
You know, he's got at least 10 members of the coalition which have basically spoken out against this deal. He's got two extremist ministers who have held the coalition hostage. But I think in Mr. Netanyahu, you're dealing with a guy who must maintain his coalition and must maintain himself in power. Otherwise, he faces either a possible conviction. He's on trial for bribery, fraud, and breach of trust in a Jerusalem district court now, 4 years running before 3 judges, or a plea deal that will drive him out of politics. So I have a feeling that Benjamin Netanyahu, given the fact that above all, it is the maintenance Benjamin Netanyahu in power, which is the driving force in his world, that Netanyahu would not enter this deal if, in fact, he had any sense at all that there would not be a coalition to support him. So, yeah, I think it'll be bumpy, but I think the government will approve this deal. Then we'll see exactly what happens with respect to the other decisions that have to be made in the weeks and months to come.